Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Andre the Podcast. I'm Andre Lacey, and as always, I'm grateful you're here with me today. Wherever you're listening from, I appreciate you for choosing to spend this time with me. Now, today's show is personal, but it's also bigger than just me, because right now, I'm participating in a 21-day fast through my church. This isn't just something I came up with on my own. This isn't just a personal challenge. This is a collective decision, a time where we as a body are choosing to step back, to refocus, to realign, and to grow spiritually together. And I want to talk about what this actually means, because fasting, especially in a faith context, it's deeper than what people often think. Let's dive in. So what is the power of doing it together? One of the things that makes this different is not that I'm doing this alone. There's something powerful about knowing that other people are making the same commitment at the same time. Praying, sacrificing, being more intentional. And that changes the mindset, because it's not just about a personal discipline. It's about spiritual alignment and accountability. It's knowing that while pushing through a difficult moment, somebody else is too. And that kind of unity, it matters. Now, I must admit, if I'm being completely and truthfully honest with you all, and you know that I am, part of this is about obedience. Because not everything we're called to do is convenient. Think about that. Not everything is comfortable. And fasting is one of those things that challenges both. Did you think about that? You don't always feel ready. You don't always feel prepared. But you step into it anyway, because you trust the purpose behind it. Think about that. You trust in the purpose, the meaning behind why you're doing this, and what it'll mean in the future. Let's transition. Now, even though this fast came through my church, it still forced me to look inward. Because just because you're participating doesn't mean you're fully aligned. Think about that. I'm sure many of you listening right now, have participated in a fast, whether it be for a spiritual purpose with your church or just wanting to be more healthy. And just because you're actually doing it doesn't mean you're fully aligned into it and feel that you're doing it for a greater purpose. I had to ask myself, am I doing this, or am I going through this, or am I actually committed to what this represents? Am I actually going through the motions? Or am I really fully and truly committed to what this will represent, not just now, but for my future? Because you can fast physically, but still be distracted mentally. Think about that. You can remove food. How many of us out there, especially if you're from the South, love food? But there are even people who aren't from the South that enjoy food. But it's even more greater when you're from a Southern hospitality kind of family or upbringing, where food is kind of the core or the center. But not even removing the habits that are pulling your attention away can keep you distracted mentally, or keep you from feeling distracted mentally. Let me say that again. But not removing the habits that are pulling your attention away does not keep you from feeling distracted mentally and even physically. How many of you out there have actually thought about that? I must admit myself, I enjoy a good meal. But it takes an even greater sacrifice to say, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice this right now for a better purpose. So let's ground this for a moment. Because fasting, in a spiritual sense, isn't just about what you're giving up. It's about what you're making room for. Think about that. More prayer, more discipline, and more of a connection with God. It's about creating space to hear clearly, to think clearly, and to realign your priorities. I know a lot of you listening know that I am very faith-driven, and many of you out there listening are also faith-driven. So when you're fasting, or the next time you decide to fast, or you do it with your church, think about this. Think about it. You're making room for more prayer, more discipline, and growing your connection with God. And it'll give you the ability to create space to think and hear clearly, and to also realign your priorities and even certain expectations. Now, let's be real. Let's be real. The first few days, they're not the most spiritual feeling days. Let's be honest. Whether you're faith-driven or not, they don't feel very spiritual. They're the most honest days, because that's when your habits start speaking the loudest. I'll be honest with you. I started this on Monday. This will air Thursday morning. As I tape this on a Tuesday afternoon, I've seen commercials and advertisements for some things that really sound good right now. And it would be easier to give in to that temptation. But it takes an even stronger being to say, you know what? That can wait. That can wait. I'm going to hold on to what I'm doing and what this represents and what it means. Think about it. When your body pushes back, it's when your mind also starts negotiating. But even in that, there's something spiritual happening, because you're learning how to say no to yourself and yes to something greater. How many of you have thought about that? You're saying no to yourself and yes to something greater. That's why I'm doing this. There are the health benefits of this, but for me, the spiritual idea of this is even more greater. I'm saying yes to something that God has in store for me. Things that are beyond my control and my understanding. Let's transition again. Here's something I've been thinking about. What if discipline is a form of worship? Think about that. What if discipline is a form of worship? Not just singing, not just showing up, but the way you carry yourself. The choices you make, the things you say no to. Even when no one else sees it. How many of you right now listening can say that you've said no to things and there were people who weren't watching? Or you weren't waiting for someone to be watching to say, okay, you're doing a good job, or you saying no to this is going to do you some good. I've had that happen to me in many situations I've said no to. What about you? How do you carry yourself? How does saying no, or having the willingness to say no, affect the choices that you make? Enjoying the show so far? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Alive Podcast Network for just $9.99. The QR code is right here. Now, back to the show. Is discipline for you a form of worship? Could it become a form of worship? Think about that. Really think about it. Let me pause here for a second. Just a second. Because I want you to think about this as well. If you're listening to this right now, and you're also participating in a fast like I am, and like my church community is, are you just doing it, or are you leaning into it? I'll ask that again. Are you just doing it, or are you leaning into it? And if you're not fasting right now, what would it look like to intentionally create space in your life for God? And I'll even take it a step further. For those who may not be faith-driven or who are figuring out their faith journey right now, because there are many people who are. What would it look like to intentionally create space in your life, period? Would that mean taking more time to focus on your health, whether that be your physical or your mental health? Spending more time with your loved ones? Being more intentional about how you spend your time, really? That can go for whether you're faith-driven or not. Think about that. Really think about it. Not many people, especially before they maybe participate in a fast, because that fast really forces you to pump the brakes and to take a step back and look at your life and say, okay, I'm doing this, but what is the greater purpose behind it? How will it affect me afterwards? What will I take away from this after the fast is over? Will I go back to those same habits? Or will I look at life and say, you know what, I need to make some changes, even if they're small ones. You don't have to make the biggest changes from the beginning. But looking back, reevaluating, and realizing, okay, how do I move forward in a way that's going to allow me to grow? Because that's another thing too. I think this fast, and many I think would agree with me, whether you're doing it for a health purpose, a spiritual purpose, or both, is for growth. To try to do things differently than the way you did it in the past. For me, that's the truth. I'm not sure if you can hear it. I can hear it, certainly. But my stomach is growling right about now. Right now, I am fasting. Now, after I tape this, I may go get some water. But this isn't the time to eat. And though my stomach is saying, oh, go eat something, or this sounds good, I'm doing this for a greater purpose. Let's talk about the community accountability. Let's talk about that. There's also something about knowing you're part of something bigger. Because when you do something alone, think about it. When you do something alone, it's easier to quit quietly. I think about, for example, how at the beginning of each year, and we're all guilty of it, some do better than others, that we say at the beginning of the new year, we're going to prioritize our health, be more healthy, whether that's through exercising, what we eat, both, the way we manage stress, the way we manage money, the way we manage time, all of those things. But it has been proven that typically either after those first couple of weeks or after that first month of the new year that we revert back to old habits? How many of you listening right now can say, I've done that? I know I have. I have. And each time I do it, I think to myself, what can I do? What can I do to prevent myself from doing this? Because oftentimes you're doing it alone. And many people, including myself, wish I had an accountability buddy or a group of people that could hold me accountable. And right now, I have just that. I have a group of people who are rallying with me, including my own family, who are participating in this church fast as well. Is it going to be easy? No. But it will be for the greater good. Think about it. When you're part of a collective commitment, there's a level of accountability. No pressure, but awareness. Awareness that this matters and why it's important, why we're doing this. What's the end result here? For me, it's to grow my spiritual connection with God. But it's also about living a better life, wanting to be healthier, wanting to make better decisions about what I eat, how much I eat, what I say yes to, what I say no to. And though that's gotten better, of course, as we grow and as we mature, there are still things that we can work on. And that's okay. That is okay. Now, the hard days, and they're going to happen whether you want them to or not. And yes, I already know there are going to be those difficult days where I feel off, days where I feel tempted to break routine. Again, it's hard when you are maybe relaxing after a long day and you have the television on, or you might be watching something that has advertisements, for example, or reading something that has advertisements embedded with it, and you see these commercials or small advertisements that show something that looks and sounds really, really good food-wise. But those days aren't interruptions. Think about that. Like I just said, there are going to be days where I feel off, days where I feel tempted to break routine. There are even going to be days where I feel tired. All because I'm interrupting or trying to change routine. But again, those days aren't interruptions. They're part of the process, really, if you think about it. I've done my research and I've been reading about how to approach this and share this with you. They're part of the process because growth doesn't happen when it's easy. Think about that. Join the conversation. Have a story idea, topic, or guest you want featured on Andre the Podcast? Send us a message. We look forward to hearing from you. Another example for me personally is when I told myself and I told my doctor and my family, I'm going to commit to exercising every day. And it's hard. In the beginning, I said I'm going to do 5 minutes of walking. Then after a couple of months, I did 10, then 15, then 20, 25, and my goal was 30. And I hit the goal. And even throughout the whole process, from 5 to 30, there were days where I would take a break Or I would stop and I was like, ooh, I'm tired. Or I'd rather not do it. And even now that I've hit 30, there are still some days, not as often, but some days where I'm like, man, I really don't want to do that. It's so much easier to just say, you know what, it'll get done another day. It'll get done tomorrow. Or it'll get done the next day. It'll get done after that. It's easy. It's easy, but it takes an even stronger person, or even not even person, but a stronger willpower to say the things that we need in order to grow doesn't happen when it's easy. It doesn't. It happens when you choose to stay committed, even when it's uncomfortable. And I think that's the biggest part for many of us that makes it hard to sometimes stay committed to something, especially when it makes us uncomfortable. With me, that's exercising sometimes, but I've gotten better at it. And I try to give myself grace on those days where I say, okay, I'm tired or I'm not really into it. I say, okay, I did 5 days. I can give myself one extra day of rest. And then when we build back up, we do those 5 days. Or you can add an extra day, maybe 6. And you feel pretty good. You really do feel pretty good about it. Now, what am I expecting God to do? Or what am I expecting from God? As I think one of the biggest questions during a fast, many of us ask, what am I expecting from this? Not just physically, but spiritually. Whether that's clarity, direction, or even peace. And I don't think it's always about receiving something big or dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. A shift in mindset, a moment of clarity, a deeper sense of discipline. Think about that. How many of you listening right now want to shift your mindset from where it may be right now into a different lane, a better lane that'll help you grow in whatever way that might be? Whether that's a moment of clarity, or even for many people, a sense of discipline. And that's where the exercising comes in for me. I want to feel disciplined enough to say, you know what? I can do this. I may feel tired in the end, but it's for a greater purpose. It'll grow myself, but it'll also, in many ways, challenge me and grow my faith relationship with God. It'll help you in other areas too. Think about it. Exercising 5 days a week for 30 minutes a day. Think about that. Can also challenge someone to spend 30 minutes a day in prayer, or 30 minutes a day reading scripture, or maybe starting off at maybe 10 or 15 minutes of praying and or reading scripture, or maybe 10 or 15 minutes of walking or running or lifting weights, bicycling, whatever that is for you. Spending time with your loved ones, being more intentional about your time, whatever that is. Let it be something that's going to help you fulfill your purpose and to grow in your relationship with God if you're a spiritual person. But even if you're still figuring that out, let it just be for a greater good, a greater purpose. Allow you to grow and not stay in that same area where you're stuck and you don't feel that you have the ability to move on and keep living the life that's meant for you, if that makes sense. So as we close out today's show, over these next 21 days, and by the time this airs, Thursday morning at 11 a.m., I will have started day 4. This isn't just about me, though. This is about being a part of something intentional, something spiritual, something bigger than my own routine. And maybe, just maybe, that's the reminder for all of us that sometimes growth doesn't come from adding more, but from removing distractions and making space for what truly matters. And if you're on this journey too, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment or you can send me a private message if you'd rather keep it private. I really do want to hear from you. What has this experience been like so far? What are you learning? Because this isn't just a podcast. Oh no. It's a conversation. And we're going to keep this conversation going. I want to thank you for listening to today's Andre the Podcast. And until next time, stay intentional, stay grounded, and keep growing in purpose. I'll see you next time. God bless you and be encouraged.